Harold Philby, on the right, holds a press conference to deny charges that he was involved in the disappearance of Burgess and McLean. The 43-year-old former Foreign Office diplomat has challenged his accuser, an MP, to repeat the charges outside the Commons.
Mr. Philby, Mr. Macmillan, the Foreign Secretary, said there was no evidence that you were the so-called third man who allegedly tipped off Burgess and McLean. Are you satisfied with that clearance that he gave you?
Yes, I am.
Well, if there was a third man, were you in fact the third man?
No, I was not.
Do you think there was one?
No comment.
Well, Mr. Philby, the disappearance of Burgess and McLean is almost as much of a mystery today as it was when they went away about 4 years ago or more. Can you shed any light on it at all?
No, I can't. In the first place, I'm debarred by the Official Secrets Act from saying anything that might disclose to unauthorized persons information derived from my position as a former government official. In the second place, the Burgess-McLean affair has raised issues of great delicacy in the sphere of international affairs. I left the service some 4 years ago, and I haven't any means of knowing whether words of mine, perhaps lifted from context, perhaps even garbled, as they sometimes have been, wouldn't severely prejudice or damage the government in its conduct of international affairs.
Mr. Philby, you were asked to resign yourself from the Foreign Office a few months after Burgess and McLean disappeared, and Mr. Macmillan has said that you had communist associations. Is that why you were asked to resign?
I was asked to resign from the Foreign Office because of an imprudent association with Burgess, and as a result of his disappearance.
So,
beyond that, I'm afraid I've got no further comment to make.
Can you say when your communist associations ended, if I assume they did?
The last time I spoke to a communist, knowing that he was a communist, was sometime in 1934.
That right? Mr. Philby, you were asked to resign yourself from the Foreign Office a few months after Burgess and McLean disappeared, and the Foreign Secretary has said that in the past you had communist associations. Is that why you were asked to resign?
I was asked to resign because of an imprudent association.
That was your association with Burgess?
Correct.
What about these alleged communist associations? Can you say anything about them?
The last time I spoke to a communist, knowing him to be a communist, was sometime in 1934.
That rather implies that you have also spoken to communists unknowingly and you now know about it.
Well, I spoke to Burgess last in April or May 1951.
He gave you no idea that he was planning to go?
Never.
Would you still regard Burgess, who lived with you for a while in Washington, would you still regard him as a friend of yours? How do you feel about him now?
I consider his action deplorable. On the subject of friendship, I prefer to say as little as possible, because it's very complicated.
You have any other reason for keeping silent, Mr. Philby?
I have. The efficiency of our security services can only be impaired if their organizations and techniques are discussed in public.
I'd like to ask you one more question, Mr. Philby. The Foreign Office asked you to resign because of your imprudent association, as you called it, with Burgess. Do you think that was fair?
I understood perfectly well their reasons for doing so.